20 million people here in greater New York, and it's great. Making news, paying dues at such an incredible rate. As a city, it gets pretty hard to contemplate. And that's why, come to think of it, we've come to think of it as the 51st state. Woo!
Wake up in the morning, drop a big old log out of here. You ain't got time for nothing fruity like a jog. Marry a fat bitch and die working like a dog. Cowboys in the heartland, bankers in the city. We love cars, guns, and big old plastic titties. Let's grab a case of Pisswasser and drink for the USA. Woo! Hey neighbors, I'm sorry, we're partying real much. You ought to speak English if you like it here so much. Not Spanish or Chinese or British. Yeah, or fucking Dutch. Fuck the Dutch. I said, yeah, we're gonna keep them illegals out. Guns and Pisswasser. Yeah, that's what a party's all about. Getting real drunk, puking face down, billion a Bobby about every kid in town. Drinking Pisswasser, fighting, getting real shit-faced tonight. Yeah, I'm a patriotic American, that's my national right. Pisswasser, German fighting lager for export only.
This characteristic feature of the American landscape is the billboard, suburban sprawl, the cornfield, the railroad. For a lot of people caught in the horrors of urban housing, the mobile home is beckoned as a romantic answer to shabby buildings, crime in the streets, evasive landlords, spiraling rents. Let's see how it works out in practice in this report from Fern McBride.
It's difficult to believe, but 43% of all new housing in America is mobile homes. Many people consider them an eyesore, and cities and towns in the East are passing strict zoning laws to prevent further mobile home developments. Still, you may look and think of covered wagons, Americans living out a dream of gypsy mobility. The truth is, these mobile homes aren't going anywhere. Once they are set up, they are expensive and difficult to move. There are 7 million Americans living in mobile homes. Many of them are young families with small incomes. Most would prefer a house but can't afford one. Others, refugees from the city, are looking for a suburban way of life. They are taken by the idea of owning their own home, something fresh, fully furnished, and inexpensive.
70-foot?
No, this is a 56-footer. You can buy this in a 56-footer, a 60-footer, or a 64-footer. And your bedrooms will be much bigger.
Would be enough.
You can also buy this model here, like with the bow window in the front. You can buy it with a bow window in the back, which is an extra $75 extra. You can have a bow window put in your master bedroom.
What is the price of this?
This price on this is $64.95, delivered and set up.
$64.95.
Right.
That's all furnished.
That's with furniture.
Everything.
Right.
Well, this might be big enough for us too, but what about financing?
The financing on that, they'll give you 10 years on it.
10 years.
10 years.
How much down?
$2,000 down, plus the tax money.
1,000?
2,000.
2,000.
Right. And they'll give you 10-year financing on it.
And what would the monthly?
On something like that, it's about $135. That includes insurance and the whole bit.
What would be the monthly payment for the use of the land?
$75 per month.
Per month?
Yes. That includes water, sewage, and snow removal.
That includes what?
Sewage, water, and snow removal.
And you provide your own heat?
Yes, that's extra.
Own electrical?
Electric, that
Oil,
your utilities,
gas heat.
you can buy anything you
Either
want.
one, gas or oil?
electric or oil.
Well, they use a propane gas, right?
Right.
We couldn't afford, I should say, to buy a home, or at least the kind of home that we wanted. And then we found out about mobile homes. And we looked at them and we found them to be quite comfortable. It was furnished. and it was within the reach of our pocket. We have about $250 a month expenses.
On the trailer, that doesn't include anything, groceries or...
Oh, no, with the trailer, just with the trailer, just, you know, to keep it warm and to have gas to cook in and the payments on the trailer and the spot.
Well, it's cheaper rent after you pay for them. It's not cheap when you go to buy one. Let's put it that way. You go to buy one, you're paying good rent within 7-8 years. You're paying way more than you do in an apartment. But after they're paid for, then you got halfway decent rent, you know.
We just got down so bad till we so close, you know, financially, that we had to sell our little home up there and move up here. We bought this little trailer. And we've been living up here, I guess, 5 or 6 years. I'm not exactly sure.
How do you live in the trailer? How do you make it financially?
Well, it's kind of rough. We just have our little bit of Social Security.
Do you live in a trailer basically because of the money?
Yes, I do. Not really because I I want to, but because of the money situation. But that was when I bought my trailer now. Today, trailers cost $10,000, $12,000 for just a 12-wide trailer. And now, for me, I really couldn't go out and buy a brand new trailer for $10,000 and put it on a trailer park lot, because it would be the same as buying a house, the money that I would have to spend to live in a trailer.
In this model here, you can get it in the country western, early American, Spanish, or that's about it, I guess.
Three
models.
No French provincial?
Well, French and also Italian provincial. And that's about it, about 5 models.
How much does it cost?
Well, the cost of this is $10,500. This is total electric. Of course, you can buy them cheaper, you know. This is a 70-footer, 3-bedroom. This is a kitchen. You got plenty of cabinet space, top and bottom. And there's a door-to-door refrigerator, frost-free.
What about the paneling?
The paneling, this is 3/16-inch paneling. You can get it in 1/4-inch. That's $125 extra. This is a tip-out. That's $400 extra. It's a 5x12 tip-out.
Why do you use such little beds?
If the beds were too big, you wouldn't be able to get in the bedroom.
You can't seem to fit a bureau in.
No, not in this model here, no. The furniture is all built-in furniture on this particular model.
Did prices vary a great deal from dealer to dealer? People who bought trailers and tried to comparison shop tell me this.
Well, that's up to the dealer. If the dealer's an honorable dealer, he charges a legitimate markup. If he's just a one-shot deal and he don't care what you tell your friends, why, he puts on whatever the traffic will bear. So go to the character of the dealer himself, as you'd find in everyday life with anybody.
Well, what would be a kind of fair markup? What is
Why,
a
20% markup is about a fair markup.
It is a good idea to choose a model and check the price with several dealers. There are a number of necessary extras not included in the price of the home. Steps with handrails, skirting, supports, over-the-roof ties, and concrete strips. Interest rates on loans for mobile homes is high, about 12% compounded annually, and there is sales tax. An $8,000 mobile home will actually cost over $11,000. Most important, manufacturers only provide a 90-day warranty on the mobile home. They are not responsible for any repairs after that period, so you may wonder how well made they are.
Before, like, let's say a little trailer over there. Now, that's a well-constructed trailer. That's all aluminum, and that's all sealed in, and they took care in what they did. But this is all thrown together. It's actually thrown together. My husband has now, since past weeks, put caulking all around the edges so that the air doesn't filter through. And it's actually just paneling and some insulation when they put some insulation in, and just that covering outside. That's all it is. and it's not really well made. When you walk, the floors creak and everything. So, like I said, it's nothing out of this world. Before they used to be, but not now. Now they just make them for the look of it. I mean, to me, you know, how it looks when you walk in, your first impressions. I mean, they have carpeting, and they have nice furnishings, and they have curtains and everything. So it does look nice. But if you really look at it, I mean, to my experience, they're not really that well built. They should be. They should take a little more, you know, care in how they build them.
Mobile homes do not fall under any building code laws. The only standards that exist for mobile homes are the manufacturer's own code. New York State is adopting this code, but there is no means for enforcement. Some manufacturers employ third parties to inspect construction. That service generally costs the consumer $400 extra, but it may be worth it. Underwriters Laboratories, or UL, best known for this work, told us that manufacturers do such a good job of finishing their product, it is almost impossible for a buyer to judge quality.
It's not like a house, but we can get by. It's too small. If it was just a little bit bigger, I would like it fine. And we can get by all right anyway. We'll have to. I like it only when the children come, because there's no room then. If more than 2 or 3 comes at the time, we don't have enough room.
Yeah, it will be more fun in a house, because you can put all, in this trailer, you can't put all your stuff in there. In a house, you got lots of room.
Our main problem is finding a place to put the mobile home in. Land is very, very hard to get for trailers, and space in trailer parks are just as difficult to get. So you more or less have to, you know, hope and pray that you land into a nice trailer park, or one that's, you know, livable.
Many complaints from mobile home dwellers concern the practices of park owners. A park owner who is also a dealer may charge more money for the mobile home, knowing you will pay it to get a space in his park. Rent ranges from $50 to $100 per month. The practice of charging entrance fees is widespread. It is an unanticipated expense ranging from $200 to $1,800. He may also charge an exit fee when you try to move your trailer to another site. What are you paying now for entry fee?
Right now, we're paying $300 entry fee.
Yeah.
Well, some of them get 3, some get 5, and some get 1,000.
Some get 8.
And some of the park owners put restrictions in that if you sell the trailer, they got to okay the new tenant, or you take the trailer off, which is a bad feature. In other words, they have this first option of buying that trailer at whatever they want to pay for it.
Getting space in a trailer park can be difficult, so some park owners take advantage. Tenants rarely get a lease. There may be frequent rent increases. Maintenance in some parks is poor. In older parks, trailers are placed one on top of the other, and rules can be strict, prohibiting children and pets. The atmosphere within the park is also important. Questions of privacy and friendliness.
You know, I mean, you could see that we're one on top of another, so you really have to watch out what you're going to do and think about it first. If you're going to have an argument, you have to find out if the next door neighbors are gone out or something. But it's nice.
The trailer park isn't too friendly because nobody don't bother with others. Well, you can't in a place like this because every kind of people moves in. And you don't know what's what. And we're both old, they're all young, and they don't even speak our language. And we don't speak them. They have their thing, and we have ours. And nobody bothers with us, and we don't bother nobody.
It's just that when you decide that you've had it with this kind of living and you want to get into something a little bit better, to bring up my son into something that I would be proud to bring him up in and have places where kids can come and play instead of in a 6x6 room, well, then I'm limited. I can't go anyplace else. I can't do anything else. I've tried to sell the trailer, and the furniture that I have in my trailer is my own, and I've spent quite a lot of money on that trailer. And I'm fixing it up and on the furniture that I have, and I was offered $1,000 for it. with my furniture. And what would I have then? I would be losing money, giving it away, not gaining anything.
Where we're living now, we're just asked to move because the landlady wants the apartment for herself. And I think it'd be about the best thing to get a trailer because the rents are so high. For 3 rooms, you'll pay $200 today. We can't afford it. My husband's retired, and it's really too much money.
As people leave the cities, overcrowding and high rents, they look for alternatives they can afford. Conventional housing production is low and very expensive. Mobile homes have become a popular solution to the housing crisis. As we have seen, it is not really a cheap alternative. $200 is the minimum monthly expense while paying for the home, and there are other problems. Finding a site, the unsavory practices of some park owners, rapid depreciation in the value of the mobile home, and a lack of building code standards. Manufacturers, dealers, and park owners have had an incredibly free hand at the expense of the mobile home owner.
Edward M. Brecher is a writer. His specialty is making complex scientific and medical subjects clear to the general public. He contributes articles to Consumer Reports, and he was a major collaborator on Consumer Union's important report on smoking and the public interest in 1963. He and his late wife were given the Albert Lasker Medical Journalism Award that year, and in 1971, the Robert Morse Writers Award from the American Psychiatric Association. Now, in collaboration with the editors of Consumer Reports, he's written a 600-plus page book called Licit and Illicit Drugs. And as he said at the beginning of this program, they're recommending the repeal of all existing laws governing marijuana. Would you review for me, Mr. Brecher, the other major recommendations that you've made in the book?
Yes, there are half a dozen in particular which apply not merely to individual drugs, but to the whole drug explosion from which this country has been suffering in the 1960s and early 1970s. And the first of these, very simply, is stop placing reliance on measures designed to keep drugs away from people. We have concentrated our entire efforts since the Harrison Narcotics Act of 1914, or at least our primary efforts, on keeping drugs away from people. And it's a very fine, logical approach, but it doesn't work. It didn't work with alcohol from 1920 to 1933. It hasn't worked with heroin from 1914 to date. It hasn't worked with marijuana from 1937 to date. It won't work with other drugs. Second, stop publicizing the horrors of the drug menace. The horrors of the drug menace happen also to be the lure which attract young people to the drugs.
The risk.
Correct. A third general recommendation is to stop increasing the damage done by drugs. Caffeine is a beautiful example of a potentially very damaging drug which we have domesticated. We use it after dinner instead of before. We add cream, we dilute it with a whole cupful of water, and in a variety of other ways, we make caffeine a relatively harmless drug. With respect to the illicit drugs, we do precisely the reverse. We permit contaminated and adulterated drugs to circulate as freely as pure drugs. We give the same penalties for the possession of a hypodermic needle as for the possession of heroin, and as a result, filthy contaminated needles are used over and over again, and so on. Let's stop misclassifying drugs, saying, for example, that marijuana is like heroin. Any young person from the age of 6 up will conclude from this that heroin is like marijuana.
And therefore reasonably safe.
Precisely. I think that and the book suggests that we are placing too much emphasis on national approaches to this problem. In substantial measure, drug problems, and particularly the problem of curbing recruitment to the drug scene is a local problem and should be dealt with in local terms. And finally, stop pursuing the goal of stamping out illicit drug use. If we had started in 1937 to cut marijuana use by 5% within the next 2 years, it might have been done. Instead, we resolved to stamp out marijuana, and the major marijuana explosion followed.
Aren't you afraid, though, that in recommending loosening up some of these laws, there'll be a kind of a permissiveness explosion and people will be just constantly smoking dope at work and home and all the time?
Well, an answer to that, I think, is in one of my favorite chapters in Illicit and Illicit Drugs called How to Start a Drug Menace. And it tells very simply of how, prior to 1959, glue sniffing was completely unknown. Then a few kids were arrested for drunkenness in Tucson, Arizona, and it turned out that they were not drunk on alcohol, but they had been sniffing glue. City by city, local anti-glue sniffing campaigns were started, and city by city, glue sniffing became a major form of drug use among young people and a major, quote, cause, unquote, of juvenile delinquency. We do this with drug after drug. Permissiveness is not the issue. The issue is whether we are going to encourage drug use by launching hysterical anti-drug campaigns.
Unhappily, the clock's caught up with us on this. In a word, before we finish, can you tell me if you have any personal experience with addiction?
Yes, I am addicted to nicotine.
Tobacco really is an addictive drug?
It is not addictive in exactly the same way as heroin, but many who have tried to kick both habits, including Synanon residents in California, report that it is no harder to kick heroin than it is to kick cigarettes.
Edward Brecher, thank you very much. It's a book full of detail, and I can recommend from a cursory reading this morning that you spend some time looking through it. If you're a parent worried about your kids, or a legislator worried about the law, or a citizen worried about your country. I'm Patrick Watson. My guest was Edward Brecher, author of Licit and Illicit Drugs, and this has been the 51st State. We'll be back tomorrow night. Good night.